If you are watching this video now, you are already one step ahead of 90% of people. While others scroll through their phones pretending the world is stable, you are here doing real work and creating genuine security. Today, I will tell you about 11 products that should form the absolute foundation of your long-term food storage. These are not random things I pulled from thin air. They are the products I tested and stored since I began preparing in 2012. The products that will truly help you and your family survive when everything else fails. My name is Zach, and I have been training for over 10 years. When I started, I had no idea what to do. I spent money on equipment that was meaningless. I stored food improperly and watched it spoil. My wife thought I was going crazy. But through trial and error and much research on real collapse situations, from Venezuela to Yugoslavia, I figured out what really works for ordinary people with limited space and budget. And this is exactly what I want to share with you today. Before we begin, let's clarify what we are talking about. This is not a 3-day power outage. I speak of an event that will disrupt everything for months or even years. Supply systems are collapsing, grocery stores are emptied and left vacant. Electricity disappears and does not return. Running water becomes a memory, and you are left only with what you prepared in advance. Can this happen? History says yes. This has happened in dozens of countries over the last century. The warning signs we observe today suggest that our turn may come faster than we would like to think. But here is the good news. If you store the right foods, you will not only survive, you will maintain your strength, health, and sanity while everyone else falls apart. The criteria I use for these 11 products are simple but strict. Firstly, they must be stored for 25 to 30 years. I am not interested in products that need to be updated every few years. They are insurance products. Remove them and forget about them until you need them. Secondly, they must be calorie-dense and nutritious. In a long-term crisis, calories equal survival. Thirdly, they should require minimal preparation. You may not have electricity or fuel. These products must work in any case. And fourth, they should be difficult or impossible to produce on your own, because if you can grow or raise them yourself, that's great. But these 11 items are what you probably cannot do on your own. So let's get to the point. The first is wheat. I am not talking about flour, but about whole grains of wheat, hard red wheat, hard white wheat, spelt quinoa, even corn if you can find it. When you store wheat whole and keep it in airtight packaging, protecting it from oxygen and moisture, it will last for 30 years or more. I personally tested wheat that had been stored in less than ideal conditions for over 20 years, and it was still quite suitable for consumption. That is why wheat is so important. This is one of the most calorie-dense products you can store. 300 to 400 pounds of wheat per person will provide you with a full year's supply of carbohydrates. Moreover, wheat is incredibly versatile. Yes, it would be better to have a mill to grind it into flour for bread. But even without a mill, you can sprout wheat grains to significantly increase their nutritional value. Or just boil them and eat them like wheat. They have a chewy texture and a nutty flavor, and honestly, it's quite satisfying. One thing I've learned from experience, if you or someone in your family has gluten sensitivity, it's worth paying attention to einkorn wheat. This ancient grain contains significantly less gluten than modern wheat. Many people who cannot eat regular wheat can tolerate eorn quite well. It costs more, but it's worth it for your whole family to eat. White rice comes in second place, not brown, but specifically white rice. This is non-negotiable. Brown rice contains oils in the husk that become rancid after about 6 months, even under ideal storage conditions. White rice, on the other hand, can be stored for 30 years or more if preserved properly. I have seen rice from the 60s that was still edible. It had turned slightly yellow with some remnants of insects, but overall, it remained good. If this rice had been stored in an airtight jar with an oxygen absorber, it would have been in perfect condition. White rice is your main backup food. It is cheap, calorie-dense, almost no one is allergic to it, and it is easy to prepare. You can only prepare it with water and heat, or, if you are really in a difficult situation, you can even soak it overnight and eat it raw the next day. I do not recommend this as the first choice, but it is possible. Keep at least 25 to 50 pounds per person, more if you can. Rice pairs perfectly with beans, providing complete protein. This brings us to the third point. Dried beans and legumes. Pinto, black beans, red beans, lentils, chickpeas. When stored in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, dried beans can be preserved for 20 to 30 years. They are rich in protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. They are filling and cheap enough for everyone to stock up on them. Now here is what most people don't know. Old beans take longer to cook. If you have beans that have been stored for 10 or 15 years, they may need to be soaked overnight and then cooked for 2 or 3 hours to become soft, but they are still nutritious and edible. They just need more time and water. I store various beans because each type brings its unique flavor and set of nutrients. Pinto for refried beans and chili. Black beans for soups and rice dishes. Lentils because they cook faster than other beans and do not require soaking. And chickpeas because they are incredibly versatile. You can prepare hummus, roast beans for a crunchy snack, or simply add them to a salad. It is recommended to stock up on 50 to 75 pounds of dried beans per person for an annual supply. This may seem like a lot, but the beans are very dense and take up much less space than you think. The fourth is oatmeal, specifically whole oat grains or oat flakes. Although flakes will do, they do not last as long. Whole oat grains are whole oat kernels, and with proper storage, they can retain their properties for over 25 years. Oatmeal is one of the most beneficial grains you can consume. It contains soluble fiber that is good for the heart and digestion. Oatmeal is hearty, versatile, and easy to prepare. Here's a trick I use all the time. Take oats, put them in a jar with water, and leave them overnight. In the morning, you will have oatmeal without cooking. Just add a little honey or dried fruits, and you will have a great breakfast. If the situation becomes really difficult and you have no way to cook, oatmeal is one of the few grains that can be eaten without cooking. Stock up on at least 25 pounds of oatmeal per person. It is light, takes up little space, and will provide you with a reliable breakfast option when everything else is uncertain. The fifth is corn. I know what you are thinking. Corn is not as nutritious as wheat or oats. And you are right. But corn contains some amino acids and nutrients that complement wheat and beans. When you eat corn along with these staple foods, your body can absorb proteins more efficiently. Additionally, corn is versatile. It can be ground into cornmeal for bread or tortillas, boiled whole grains and eaten as hominy, and if there is a heat source, even made into popcorn. My children love popcorn, and the thought of having 50 pounds of corn kernels on hand brings a bit of normalcy and comfort in a crisis situation. Corn can be stored for 20 to 30 years with proper storage. It is inexpensive and adds variety to your diet, which is more significant than you might think when you have to eat the same foods month after month. The sixth is dried or frozen vegetables. In particular, I pay attention to onions, celery, and carrots. These three vegetables form the basis of almost every soup, stew, and chili you will ever make. The French call this combination the world, and once you start using it, you'll understand why it has been a culinary foundation for centuries. Dried onions and celery can last over 25 years in airtight containers. They are lightweight, quickly rehydrate, and add flavor and nutrients to otherwise bland dishes. Dried carrots are rich in vitamin A, which is important for vision and the immune system. In a long-term crisis, when fresh vegetables are hard to come by, these dried options can help avoid deficiencies. There is a difference between dehydrated and freeze-dried vegetables. Freeze-dried vegetables are lighter and restore faster, but take up more space. 1 can of dehydrated celery is equivalent to 2 or 3 cans of freeze-dried celery. I prefer dehydrated vegetables for long-term storage due to space savings, but both options are quite suitable. Store at least 10 to 15 pounds of mixed dehydrated vegetables per person. It may not seem like much, but remember, they are concentrated. A little is a lot. Next in line is salt. Pure salt. And I mean pure. No iodine, no anti-caking agents, just salt. Pink Himalayan salt, sea salt, kosher salt. These pure views of salt will be preserved forever. Salt does not spoil. But here's the thing. Salt with additives, such as iodized salt, only lasts about 5 years because the additives break down over time. Therefore, if you plan to store for a long time, choose pure salt. Why is salt so important? First, your body needs it. You lose sodium through sweat, and if you don't replenish it, it will lead to serious health problems. Secondly, salt is necessary for preserving food. Salt can be used for curing meat. It extends the shelf life of oil and cheese, and is also necessary for making sauerkraut and pickles. In a long-term crisis, salt allows you to preserve the food you have grown or caught so it does not spoil. Thirdly, salt is a valuable commodity. Throughout human history, salt has been used as currency. There is a reason the word salary comes from the Latin word for salt. In a collapse situation, salt will be worth its weight in gold, or, more accurately, its weight in food. Keep at least 10 pounds of salt per person. If there is space, store more. You won't regret it. The next product is white sugar. I can already hear some of you saying that sugar is not survival. And you are right that it contains no vitamins or minerals, but sugar provides calories, and calories mean survival. Moreover, sugar is critically important for preserving food. It is needed for making jams and jellies, for preserving fruits, and for baking, which becomes a great incentive when everything seems hopeless after 6 months of crisis. I checked the sugar that had been stored in airtight bags for over 15 years. It had clumped a bit, but once I broke up the clumps, it dissolved normally and tasted quite ordinary. Sugar stored in airtight containers will last indefinitely. Store at least 70 pounds of sugar per person. I understand that it seems like a lot, but when you make jam, preserve fruits, and bake bread from scratch, 70 pounds disappears faster than you think, and sugar is inexpensive. There is no reason not to stock up on it. The 9th product is honey. This is a special product because honey not only provides calories and sweetness. Honey has real healing properties. It has antibacterial and antimicrobial properties. You can use it to treat wounds and burns. It also helps with a sore throat and cough. From a nutritional standpoint, honey contains trace elements and enzymes that are absent in white sugar. I personally opened jars of honey that had been stored for 40 years. The honey has crystallized and darkened, but it remains perfectly edible. You can return the crystallized honey to a liquid state by gently heating it. And even if this is not done, crystallized honey is still edible and retains all its beneficial properties. The main thing about honey is not to store it in metal containers. I learned this from my own experience. Over time, metal reacts with honey, resulting in black metal specks that make it inedible. Store honey in glass jars or food-safe plastic buckets and it will last forever. I recommend keeping at least 12 liters of honey per person. If you do not stock up on other sweeteners, double this amount. The next point is fats and oils. Here, many stockpilers make a big mistake. Most oils become rancid within a year or two. Olive oil, vegetable oil, canola oil all have a limited shelf life. The only exception is coconut oil. High-quality oil stored in a cool and dark place will last for 2 to 3 years. Some sources claim it can last even longer, but for long-term storage, one needs to think of something more than just bottled oils. The best option for long-term storage of fats is powdered butter or ghee powder. These products contain essential fats for cooking and baking. With proper storage, they can last 25 years or more. Fats are necessary. Your body needs fats to absorb certain vitamins. Your brain also requires fats for normal functioning. Psychologically, food without fat does not bring the same satisfaction. Another option is to store margarine in sealed jars. Products like Crisco can be stored for several years unopened and are suitable for baking and frying, but I prefer powdered butter because it tastes better and is more nutritious. Store at least 19 kilograms of fats per person per year, whether it be coconut oil, butter powder, or margarine. Make sure you have it. This is one of the most often overlooked products in food supplies, and it is very important. The next item is powdered milk, especially skimmed powdered milk. This is your supply of dairy products, and it is more important than many think. Milk provides calcium, protein, vitamin D, and vitamin A. These nutrients are critically important and hard to obtain just from grains and legumes. Let's be honest, powdered milk is not as tasty as fresh. I won't deceive you. But when you add it to recipes, use it in baking, or add it to oatmeal and coffee, it works quite well. In a prolonged crisis, you won't care whether your milk resembles what came from the farm. You will be grateful that you have it. Skimmed powdered milk, stored in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, can last for 25 years or more. Whole powdered milk lasts only 3 to 5 years due to its fat content. Therefore, for long-term storage, it is better to use skim milk. 1 can of powdered milk yields about 3.5 gallons of reconstituted milk. This is an enormous amount of nutrients in a very compact package. It is recommended to store at least 25 pounds of powdered milk per person. If you have small children, stock up more. Now let's talk about what may seem complicated. I know that many of you look at this list and think, this is a lot of food. This is a lot of money. This is a lot of space. How can I make this happen? I understand this because I have gone through it myself. In 2014, I lived in a small apartment with almost no storage space and a budget that was stretched to the limit every month. I couldn't afford to buy 300 pounds of wheat at once, so I acted in stages. $50 here, $75 there. Every month I bought a 25-pound bag of rice or several cans of dried vegetables. And you know what? The supplies piled up faster than I expected. After 6 months, I already had a reliable 3-month supply. A year later, it was a 6-month supply. And now, after more than 10 years, I have enough food reserves for the whole family for an entire year. I know that starting is the hardest part. That's why I prepared a free resource to help you with this. It is called Food Supplies for $50 and shows how to turn $50 into a food supply for 90 days for your family. I am not talking about a theoretical plan that only works on paper. This is a proven plan with specific brands and prices. It includes a shopping list, storage strategies, and ideas for emergency meals that do not require cooking fuel. This resource also contains 37 essential items for preparation, which most people don't even think about. And number 23 on this list will surely surprise you. I created this guide because I remember how overwhelming everything felt when I started. I remember looking at preparation websites that wanted me to spend thousands of dollars on frozen meals that I couldn't afford. I knew there had to be a better way suitable for ordinary people with ordinary budgets. I tested it. I figured out which products are the most economical, calculated how much is needed, and laid it all out in a simple step-by-step format that anyone can follow. The guide is completely free. No tricks, no credit cards. Just click the link in the description below or check the attached comment, and I'll send it to you by email. You will receive it within the next 5 minutes and can start creating your food security today. Let's continue, because I want to discuss something that many preparers completely ignore. Storage. You can buy all the right products, but if you store them incorrectly, they will be useless when needed. The enemies of long-term food storage are oxygen, moisture, light, heat, and pests. To protect my supplies from all these factors, I use several simple methods. For grains like wheat, rice, and corn, I use Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, which I place in 5-liter food-grade buckets. The Mylar bag blocks light and moisture, while the oxygen absorber removes oxygen that could lead to spoilage. The bucket protects all contents from pests and physical damage. This system allows grain to be kept in good condition for 30 years or more. I label each bucket with its contents and the sealing date, then stack them in the cellar, where it is dark and cool all year round. For beans, I use the same method. Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers inside buckets. Some people do without bags and just pack beans in buckets, but I do not recommend that. The Mylar bag provides an extra layer of protection and is inexpensive. I store sugar and salt in their original packaging inside sealed 5-liter buckets. This protects them from moisture, which is the main threat. Sugar and salt do not need oxygen absorbers, as they do not spoil from oxygen. They just need to remain dry. As for dried vegetables, powdered milk, and powdered butter, I buy them already sealed in 10 cans from trusted suppliers. These jars are specially designed for long-term storage and perform their function excellently. After opening the jar, I transfer the contents to a glass jar or a smaller airtight container and use it for several months. Here is an important piece of advice. Keep everything in a cool, dark place. Heat is one of the main enemies of food storage. If the temperature in your storage regularly exceeds 80 degrees Fahrenheit, the shelf life of food decreases significantly, from 30 to 3 or 4 years. So find the coolest place in your house. The basement is an ideal option. A closet on the inner wall will also do. Even the space under the bed is better than a hot garage or attic. Now, let's talk about stock rotation. One of the most common mistakes is treating long-term food storage like a museum. By sealing supplies, people never return to them, and after 10 years, they realize they don't know how to use them. Don't do this. Every few months, take out some of the supplies and cook with them. Prepare a pot of beans, bake wheat bread, cook rice. This serves 2 purposes. First, you will ensure that the food is still good. If something goes wrong, you will know about it before it's too late. Secondly, you will learn to cook with these ingredients. Trust me, if you have never cooked with wheat grains or powdered milk, you shouldn't try it in a stressful situation when you are already tense and tired. I try to cook at least 1 dish a month using only long-term storage products. This helps me stay fit, and my family gets acquainted with these products. Honestly, it's quite interesting as a challenge. What good meal can be prepared with only rice, beans, dried vegetables, and a few spices? Speaking of spices, it is worth noting that I did not include them in the main list, but they are important. Spices do not have a 30-year shelf life. Most of them lose their activity within 2 or 3 years, but they are still necessary, as having only rice and beans every day can quickly undermine your morale. Stock up on salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, chili, oregano, basil, and cinnamon. These basic spices will make your food tasty, which is more important than you might think. Store spices in airtight containers in a cool, dark place and plan to replenish them every couple of years. This is an area where you can't just leave everything as it is, but the effort is worth it. Another point worth mentioning is water. I didn't add it to my list because this video is primarily about food, But obviously, one cannot survive without water. Moreover, most of these products cannot be prepared without water. Rice requires water. Beans require water. Even wheat grains need water to sprout or cook. Therefore, no matter what food storage plan you develop, be sure to take care of a reliable water source. This means a water supply, filtration systems, and preferably a renewable water source, such as a well or a nearby stream. But that's a separate topic. Now, let's discuss something I hear all the time. People say, Zach, if things get really bad, if we're talking about a real apocalypse scenario, won't people come and take my food? The answer could be yes. If you tell everyone around about your supplies, then yes, you will become a target. So I recommend keeping it a secret. Don't boast about what you have. Do not post photos of your supplies on social media. Just quietly accumulate your supplies and keep it to yourself. But think about it from another perspective. If a crisis occurs, most people will be completely unprepared. They will have 3 days of food, if lucky, and they will begin to panic. They will rush to stores and fight for the last loaf of bread. They will spend time and effort putting themselves in danger. You, on the contrary, will remain calm. You will be safe. You will stay at home with your family and wait for the chaos to subside. And when the situation stabilizes, when people begin to understand how to move forward, you will be in a strong position. Not because you hoard, not because you are selfish, but because you have taken on the responsibility for your family's survival. This is not paranoia. This is wisdom. And to be honest, this is one of the most caring actions you can take for those you hold dear. Let's summarize all of this. These 11 products, wheat, white rice, dried beans, oats, corn, dehydrated vegetables, salt, sugar, honey, fats and oils, and dry milk, form the basis of a true, long-term food supply. They are not shiny, not captivating, but they work. They are affordable, can be stored for a long time, and will help you survive and stay healthy when everything around falls apart. You don't need to buy everything at once. You don't have to spend thousands of rubles. Just start. Choose 1 or 2 products from this list and add them to your supplies this week. Next week, add a couple more. Gradually and steadily accumulate supplies, and soon you will create a stockpile of food that will ensure your peace of mind. And if you haven't received the free guide on food supplies worth $50 yet, now is the time to do so. Seriously, it's free, practical, and specifically designed to help you get started without extra costs. Just click on it, enter your email address, and I will send it to you. No spam, no sales, just a useful resource for building your food security. Before I finish, I want to leave you with one last thought. Preparation is not fear. It is not paranoia and not living in a bunker. It is the responsibility for your own survival and the well-being of your family. It is the refusal to be a victim when something goes wrong. And this is the creation of that quiet confidence that comes when you know you are ready for anything. The world is unstable. This is not intimidation, but just reality. The supply of goods is fragile. The economy is unpredictable. Natural disasters are becoming more severe. And the systems we have relied on our whole lives can fail at any moment. But you do not need to fear this, because you are taking the necessary steps. You are building your security by providing yourself with rice, and that makes you special. It makes you ready. If this video was helpful to you, do me a favor. Hit the like button, leave a comment below, and let me know which of these 11 products you are going to start with. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, because every week I publish a new video on topics from food storage to water purification and safety. This is a community of people who take responsibility for their future. It is a great honor for me to be a part of it. And once again, if you haven't received the free guide on food supplies worth $50, the link is below this video. Click on it, get the guide, and start building your food security today. You will be happy you did it. Stay calm, stay ready, and see you in the next video.